Hi, thanks for joining me. It's Jackie from White Raven Creatives on Vancouver Island. I am going to make a lapbook, botanical themed, I had these two large chunks of cardboard that came as packaging for, I don't know, possibly some bedding or something like that. But it had already the binding strip here, and a front and a back, and then I had this little edge here. So what I did is this is very large. This is like 14 by, I don't know, 12, 13, something like that. So I didn't want a book that big. So I took one of these and I cut it in half, right down the center there. Split this in half, so I'll have 1, 2, and 2 more pieces there. So then I got rid of that one and I took one of the smaller pieces and one of the halves, and I made so here's the binding where it's going to be, and that's going to be it's about a 2 3/4 inch binding it when we're done. It's going to be about 2.5 inches, so it's going to be a fairly thick book. And then I took this side, which matches up over here, and I just creased that at it's about 2.5, so I made the crease here at about 1.5, just so that when I have that, it's going to look like that. So it's a little more than half, and it's going to end up like that. All right, is that making sense? So this is not really a tutorial for beginners. There's others on there, and I will find a link to somebody that inspired me to start creating this. And her stuff is a lot more in depth if you need more information. But I'm going to try and give you as much as I can, but I'm probably going to miss a few things. So if you can figure stuff out, you'll be good to go. But if you need a little more instruction, you should probably go visit, I think it's called Made with Norma. Anyway, I'll link her. Okay, so anyway, then we have this strip, long strip, and then I took the other piece that I had here, and I just took this end, I just ripped it off. So that's what I'm going to attach to here, like that, on the inside. And then what I'll just clip these so that you can see what I'm going to end up with. And I'll clip that there, and this there. All right, so in the end, we're going to end up with that kind of thing. All right, so I hope you can see this. I know I'm on a white mat again, but that's what I need to work on. Maybe not so much while I'm just gluing and stuff. I don't know if that's any better. A little bit maybe. Okay, so that's what we're ending up with. So, like I said, we took a large piece of board. I cut it in half this way, so I now have a piece that is about 7 by just over 9 for the front and back covers, with a 2.5, 2 3/4 inch binding edge on that left, and then a 1.5 on the right. I then took another piece and I am going to glue that onto this right hand side on the little piece that's extra once I crease down the center there. So I'm going to have that. So that's going to be the base of the book. I have a bunch of packaging paper that I'm going to recycle and use for this booklet as a to cover. And can't really tell you much more about what I'm going to do because I don't really know. So I am going to use this to cover this book and make it all one nice. So let me get started on that, and I'll show you as I go. So I have some Yes paste. You, of course, can use whatever you like. I just happen to have some of this, and it's quite a good sticker. Use anything that's going to really not be too wet, but something that's going to stick really good. Now this big jar of Yes paste came, but it's pretty cheap. I quite like using it for on the covers and anywhere that really needs to be stuck where I need to use a lot of glue, because I find my other glue is just way too pricey to be using for stuff like that. You know, like I do have collage medium and that kind of thing. But so I'm going to just use this, and I'm going to put a little bit of glue on here to start with, and get that real good and stuck. So this book is going to be a bit of a rugged one because it's my first with this. So it's more of a sort of a prototype. And then I can make some fancier ones once I've worked out some of the kinks. But anyway, I just thought I'd show you, and if it works out, it works out. So I'm going to just trim these little edges. A lot of this is going to be fairly rugged. I'm not going to worry too much about making everything nice, real pretty. But I do want to make sure that that edge is going to be decent. So anyway, I glued that edge down here. And I'm going to stick this on there. I'm going to clip it just for a minute or two. This, whoops, this glue does dry pretty quick too, so. But like I said, use what you've got. But if you use a really wet glue, like even Mod Podge or just that cheap school glue, it's gonna just break down the integrity of the cardboard a bit. So buy a jar of this if you haven't got anything else and you need to go buy something. But I'm not advertising in any way. Okay, so then, like I said, here's the paper that I have that I'm going to cover it with. And this is just sort of to bring it all together, and then after I'm going to decorate it. So for now, all we need to do is figure out how much of an edge we need here. So I've got a lot here. I don't really need to cover all of that up. So I'm going to just take a chunk of this paper, cut it down to size. And this is fairly thin paper, but because I'm using cardboard, like a regular heavy-duty cardboard box type of cardboard, I figure I don't really need a strong paper on it to just cover these for now. And like I said, we're going to be using decorative paper later. So I'm going to just leave a bit of an edge so I can fold that over and on both sides and get rid of this. Give that to the cat. And then I'm going to, if you need better instructions on how to cover a book, there's lots of people on the internet that do that as well. So the only thing we really need to do is cut those corners off, just to get rid of some of that bulk. And I'll wait to there. Okay, so I'm going to just stick this on. I don't think you need to watch me stick paper on unless I get to a point that's a little tricky. Then, well, let me just start out here. As I said, I wasn't. I now do. So I'm going to just put lots of glue on here, and you can see how thick that is. It's a good one. I think I only paid like, I don't know, $12 for the whole jar. It's a large jar. I don't believe that we all need to buy all these really expensive products all the time. Consumerism in this industry is just ridiculous, I think. With everybody thinking that they have to have all this stuff. And that sort of just stops people from even getting started, because they go, wow. I mean, I know when I first started, I thought, holy moly, it's this is going to be, I mean, I justified it, of course, because I wanted to do it, but, you know, I don't really sport or anything else, so, this is my hobby, and, the other thing that I do have is some baby wipes. Get them cheap. Get them cheap. These are, I don't even know where these come from, but they're just cheap so that you can get that stuff off your hands before you put it in your mouth. Ugh. Okay, so now I've got that down, glued. I'm just going to stick that on there. Right about there. Alright, so that's going to come over, so I can actually probably cut these corners back a bit more too, but anyway, that's fine. I'm not going to get all crazy about it, like I said. This is just sort of a prototype at this point, and if the filming works, you guys are seeing it. If it doesn't, well, we'll start another one, another day. So just add your glue on. Now I'm on the back. Now I flip that over, and I'm on the putting more of that glue on the back, and I'm just gonna start creasing it, pressing it down, and sticking that paper all the way along. Now when I get down here, I can see I'm going to end right where I don't really want to end, so I'm going to add another piece of that paper before that. Because like I said, we're covering it all afterwards anyway. So let me grab another piece of paper. And I'll just, again, cut some of this width off, because I don't need it that wide. I only need it to be about there, so I'm going to cut off another. I mean, this is just about how intense you have to get with this part of the process. You don't need to sweat it. You don't need to measure. You don't need to. You just need to consider things like, if I'm running out right here, I don't want my paper to run out right at that seam, because then when I put another piece on up to there, I'm going to have an opening. So I'm going to make sure that that overlaps. All right, so more glue. I'm going to get that on. Yeah, so I certainly don't mean to be preaching or anything here, but sometimes I just think that, you know, I watch some people on, and it's like they have every bloody gadget, and they don't even use it. I've seen one guy, and he's got every die cut, every stamp, and I have never seen him actually make anything. I've seen him sort of give you a demonstration on how it works, which you don't really need anyway, because we've seen that before. I mean, we all know how a die cut works, right? Or a stamp. But I guess, I mean, you know, he does his thing, and he's happy doing that, so good for him. Good for him. Better than the alternative, I guess. So anyway, press that down. All good, good. And then with this one, I'm going to take those little clips off now. And I'm going to just carry on. So you see we've got that all stuck on. So we're to here. So I'm just going to carry on, and I'm going to turn that and come back onto this side with this piece of paper, if I can. So I'm going to flip that. Oops. Don't even worry if you do stuff like that. So, I don't know. I always just find the hardest thing is to sort of find somebody that motivates you and gets you started to make. Make. I think probably the first thing I need is just an idea. Like, you know, like what am I going to do that's going to be a little different? Because I mean, I can make a number of lap books, but they're all going to be different because they're going to be decorated different. And every time you make, it's going to be a little different. But I need to sort of have some kind of inspiration to go, that's the kind I'm going to make. I know what I'm going to do, or how I'm going to start anyway, because you never end up, well, I never end up with what I think I'm going to end, what I start out thinking I'm going to make. It always changes. So I'm going to add that onto there. And I've got that little lip right there. I'm going to accentuate that just a bit because this is really cheap. Just, it's packing paper, so it rips. You see that? Not a big deal. This piece here, I'm just going to add that down. And I'm going to come back to, because I don't want glue all over my table, so I can come back to that. So I've got this whole side covered. I'm going to flip that over. And I'm going to start bringing that back down here on the inside. It will all make sense in the end. So I guess that's the other thing is I sort of find that sometimes what I like to do is follow a process video like this. Follow all the steps, all of the issues, all of the uploads that are, you know, step 1, step 2, whatever they've done right to the end, so that I can see, because a lot of times people will make mistakes and then they'll go, instead of doing that, do this. So you can just go right to the proper way to do it right off the bat and not make the same mistakes and then have to fix them. So now I'm just thinking here, when I get to here, I have to decide if I want to fold this in and have a nice edge. Now would be the time to do it. I just fold those edges in and fold these edges in. Or I can just continue to go down this way and cover it here, and then I can come back in and just cut the edges of the book. Because this is my prototype, and I don't mind if this book is really a raggedy. You know, it's like it's going to be like a used notebook. So I don't care that I'm going to, if these edges are raggedy, when I come back and I trim this paper off. So actually what I could have done now, this is why you watch to the end, I could have made that paper shorter and just glued it right on there, and then I wouldn't have to cut. But like I said, we create as we go. So this is where we're at here. And I've got lots of paper. So am I going to be able to get right to the end? Not quite with that one. Need a longer one? Okay. Got it. Okay. So basically that's all I've done. Is I've just covered, constructed the base, and I know my neighbors think I'm talking to myself. Not that I care what they think, but I guess I'm talking to you out there, friends and subbies. So, if you haven't subscribed, once you've got to the end, you will love what we are making, and you'll want to remember to subscribe so you can see more of what we make. And most of the things I make, I made a lot of junk journals, and I still like to make junk journals, but I kind of like to switch it up once in a while. So I'm also making things like lapbooks and little other little knick-knack kind of things that are useful, like maybe a seed box, so you could organize your seeds and have your little books in there and stuff like that. So, but most of the stuff usually has a botanical flair, influence, if you wish. So, yeah, I didn't cut that one down. I'm gonna cut that one down. So, since I know that, I can go shorter and save some paper. I might use this for something later, so why don't I just do that? And that's, again, just to show you that that's where we're at. Now that is going to be, I'm going to actually put this underneath. And the only reason that I'm doing that is because this is going to be that little gusset on that one side, and so I don't want the paper again at the crease, so I have the overflap on this side. So that all goes down, and even once you get to the end of this part, you start to feel like you're actually making something, and you've got a good base. And it doesn't take long, but this isn't the you know, we're not into decorating or anything like that yet. So I was actually thinking to time this to see how long it actually takes me to complete a book. Oops, sorry if I am smashing the screen there. Okay, so lots of paper, lots of glue, and we fold the last piece and over to there. Don't even worry about wrinkles. Yes, we don't worry about wrinkles. And anyway, we have come to the part of life where we don't care about silly things like wrinkles. Okay, so here we go. Now we have this entire book, which is basically 3 panels, a thick spine, that's the word, and another spine, this narrower spine. So once this is all trimmed up, I will let this dry, I will trim it up, and then I'll come and show you what we've got, and you'll see how far we've come. Okay, hold on. Okay, so like I said, I'm just gonna take my scissors and scoot down the side here. I haven't got it as dry as it probably should be, but I can do a pretty good job with this, because in the end, that's what your seamless edge is going to look like. And it's going to be nice and rustic. So I'm going to let this dry a little bit. I can turn on my heat gun and do that, and you don't need to hear that noise. So let me dry this up, cut the rest of it off, and then I'll be back to show you. Okay, so I'm just finishing up cutting that off. And there we go. So I can fancy up any little edges if I want to, or not. You might find that when you're doing this, if you have a X-Acto knife or a craft blade of sorts, that you might want to cut your edges with that instead. It doesn't matter, whatever you've got. Scissors. Now, the other thing that is important is get that glue off your scissors while it's still wet. Otherwise, you're going to be throwing out another pair of scissors. Believe me. Ask me how I know. Okay, so there we go in my hands. Sticky stuff. So, this is where we're at. Now would be the time if I wanted to come back in and put a little more glue down here. I could do that. Okay. So this is where we're at. We've got our good base now, our big spine and our narrow spine, and a book that is covered and waiting for some pages to be attached inside, and a latch arrangement of some sort of closure. I will probably just do something like let me think here. I'll probably maybe take this cardboard again and just rip off that piece and trim it up a bit. Oh, I got that easy there. So I think the only thing other that you really need to think about when you're doing this is, do you need to decorate and then add your latch mechanism? Or are you going to cover it all up later? What are you going to do? How are you going to do it? Here's what I'm thinking. Okay, so what's happening here? I don't know.